Today's guest blends gritty classic rock energy with a modern edge while merging decade inspiration. And we're talking about the grind, the music, everything in between. And PJ from PJ Ferguson and the Tennessee Strange is with me today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So tell us, for anyone who isn't familiar, first, who is PJ? And then who is PJ Ferguson and the Tennessee Strange?
uh, I am a 5'5" little dude with big aspirations and big drive. That's me, and um, my band is an eclectic rock and roll band.
I would say that pretty much hits the mark. I mean, you guys have a really cool sound. It's nothing like I've heard before come out of our local community in Nashville. Um, so tell us a little bit about, I guess the evolution of the band. You know, like where you started and where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, this band started 3 years ago, and it's changed so much. I
Yeah.
still have the same guitar player and bass player, but we kind of started out writing more some Americana songs. Definitely got more deeper into rock and roll as we went along and added members. Now we have saxophone, keys, backing vocalists. So when everybody's together, we're an eight-piece band on stage, and it's become um, a show. But everything is real. That's our biggest mantra is that there's no tricks, there's no tracks, there's no auto tune. Uh, I mean, everything you see and hear is on that stage and is real.
Yeah. And it's pretty uncommon to have such a large group of people come together for a full band experience, especially in the Nashville area. So, did you always have this vision to create like a really full sound?
Um, no, I mean, I grew up on 4 or 5 piece rock bands.
Yeah.
But say also Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, when you saw them live, they were a big band, and that was really
Yeah.
inspiring. But I think what inspired me most was Talking Heads, uh, Stop Making Sense, and watching that live video of David Byrne comes out and he's by himself, and then piece by piece, members of the band come out, and then by the end, it's this full show. I mean, with uh, dancers and the whole 9 yards. And so that
Yeah.
really inspired me to, oh, I think I really like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you said that you started the band 3 years ago, it have you been in Nashville longer than that?
Yeah, I got here a little over 5 years ago, right in the
Okay.
middle of COVID. I'm from upstate New York, so I was doing music full time up there, and I moved to Nashville because why not? There's nothing to lose at that point. Everything,
Yeah.
the world had changed, and I had nothing. uh, so it was the perfect time to move in retrospect.
Yeah. What did you do when you first got here? I mean, you had 2 years before you created this iteration of the band. So what was happening when you first got to Nashville?
Well, I got into Broadway early, and I was playing acoustic, and they would call me at like 9 in the morning and be like, "Can you be here right now?" Um, and they meant like
In an
ASAP.
hour? Yeah.
No, I mean less than an hour.
Less
Like,
than that?
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so this would happen for about maybe 6 months, almost every day. So I kind of
Mm.
started to anticipate it. I'd start waking up earlier and getting showered, knowing that, oh, I'm probably, but I was never on like a schedule. And then one day they asked me, "Do you have a band?" And I didn't, but I said, "Yeah, I got a band tomorrow." Okay. And then I just knew enough musicians from meeting at the jams and uh, going to see other musicians downtown to call some
Yeah.
people and scrap something together.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it goes here though, right? It's pretty
Mm,
common and not a lot of people know that when they visit Nashville is that most of the people you see playing together on stage are not technically a band. Like sometimes
right,
they're just like a bunch of musicians thrown together at the last minute.
right. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of times.
Is that
Yes.
how you ended up meeting a lot of the people in your band now? It was just like kind of by chance, or did you kind of pick them out of lineups?
No, I seeked some of them out.
Okay.
My guitar player was in a band in Nashville before I moved here, when I visited, and I really enjoyed their band. So, when I saw he was available, I asked him to play with me, and so there's a little bit of that, but also a little bit of just running into people and right place, right time.
So you were doing music full time in New York before you moved here.
Mhm.
Was that something that was always your goal, or was there kind of like a defining moment that you decided this is it, like music's my life now?
Um, well, I've been playing in bars since I was 14, before I could even drive. And I was fortunate, like the bars would let me hang out and see bands on the weekends. So you literally, if you walked into the bar in upstate New York, you'd see a bunch of adults and one teenager enjoying the musics. And so I was an old soul, but the once I fell in love with music, I just knew it was for me. Um, let's say there was a period where music wasn't the priority. I
Mhm.
was still doing music full time, but the party aspect of it became the priority.
Yeah.
Um, and then moving to Nashville, uh, my mindset completely changed with that, and music became, the priority again.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what was it about the move that kind of changed your mindset?
Well, I think I was in upstate New York, and I felt, you know, number one, there's not a lot of full-time musicians up there. Obviously,
Mhm.
definitely when you compare it to Nashville, where it's a whole industry.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of people don't look at it as a real job, quote unquote. Um, and then you kind of start to believe that yourself, or at least I did, and you get stuck in doing the same cycles, and with that, you start to medicate for that. Like I was just drinking a lot and was depressed. And um, so when COVID happened, I mean, not that it was a great thing for the world, but it was
Yeah.
a great reset for me because it was just, hey, now you don't really have any options. If you want to make this move, why not? Like you're not
Mhm.
missing out on anything. And when I moved to Nashville, uh, I like the potential of like, oh, this. I was kind of lowering my own expectations back at home and not chasing the potential, you know.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
you know,
That makes total sense. I mean, like you said, it's not necessarily the fact that like the pandemic was a good thing, but I think a lot of beautiful things were born out of that time for a lot of people.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, and that time was definitely my biggest party time because I was like, well, uh, what else is there to do? But then yeah, about a little over 4 years ago, I quit drinking, and that was a big change in my life. And over time, change. I feel like just even the composition of my brain entirely. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, it. So very grateful to be where I'm at now, especially looking back um, to those days of playing pumpkin patches and
You when you look at your like the product of your work, what do you notice first about the difference between, like songwriting when you're also in that party mode, but then songwriting now with like a constantly clear mind.
not gonna lie, I think I think drugs actually can help the writing process sometimes. Uh, but uh, I will say that it's nothing compared to the focus and clarity okay, for example, I'm never waking up one day and saying, man, I wish I drank last night. But
Right.
there were times where I was like, oh man, why did I, you know, and that can ruin your whole day, which can
Yeah.
ruin your momentum for, or your, you know, your potential for that day of what you could have done that um, could have been a great thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I can see how sometimes like utilizing a substance could maybe get you out of your head,
mhm.
but also kind of stifles your productivity, like you said.
Yeah, I think of it as you're sacrificing tomorrow for today, you know. But I'm
Yeah.
so now I'm in a much my mindset is more thinking, years down the line, steps ahead, rather than just today, you know. I don't want to
Yeah.
just live in today. Uh, it's got a whole life ahead of me, hopefully.
So when you think about further down the line, past today, what are the goals that you have? Like, do you look, how far ahead are you looking? Like 6 months, 6 years? Like what are like the, I guess, short-term and long-term goals that you have for yourself or for the band?
Yeah, I'm thinking like a few years is ahead is that, this band, what I really like to do is take it on the road. Um, the ultimate goal would be playing theaters. Um, you know, one day playing the Ryman and theaters of that size.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not aspiring to be like uh Motley Crue or anything, or like private jets and stadiums.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, intimate venues with an audience that um is tuned in and actually cares and is listening.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
that's the goal.
interesting. You are not the first person to, touch on this part of the conversation. It's kind of interesting that when you actually take the time to like sit down and talk to a lot of musicians who are doing this full time and trying to make a living off of it, usually the main goal is not to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Usually the main goal is to just be successful doing what you love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think success is a mindset, really. It's
Yeah.
just um I feel I'm very successful in comparison to where I was 5 or 10 years ago.
Right.
So,
Aside from your sobriety, what would you say is the biggest change you've seen in yourself in over the course of the last few years?
um, embracing who I am, not being as self-conscious and caring about how others perceive me. Nashville definitely gave me that, where it was made me more comfortable in my own skin. It's made me a stronger performer. Like when I get up on stage, I feel more myself than I do just sitting here talking to you right now.
Yeah,
uh, you know, so I'd say that's the biggest change. Where
that's great.
that's not how I felt back up in upstate New York. I was very, uncomfortable in my own skin, and
Yeah.
my insecurities, um, you know, being a short dude, or, how my teeth look, or hair, or, uh, whatever it was that day. But those things would get in my head,
Yeah.
where now I'm just like, oh no, this is who I am, and take me or leave me.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I think that's the probably the healthiest mindset you can have when it comes to that is, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit because you talked about how, you were playing all these shows, you were doing this as a teenager. And so you have a bit of a head start compared to a lot of people. Um, but you also feel like you've evolved more, in the last few years than you did over the course of time since you started playing music. But regardless of that, what does that kind of repetition teach you that can't necessarily be known just because you have a talent?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Experiences. One day I'll definitely write a book about it. I think a lot of it gets stored in a filing cabinet in my brain that I don't always have access to, of how many things have just happened over the course of my life, at shows. But um, things happen all the time where you think you've seen it all, and then they're like, oh, this no, this taught me something new. Um,
Uh,
so yeah, I don't think you can get that experience without living it.
like a hands-on job experience.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's true in any job, really. Yeah.
Yeah. It can't be taught. Is there a moment that you experienced playing out in public that was just kind of like an aha moment for you?
But there's just wild things that have happened. You know, there's the good and the bad. You know,
Yeah.
downtown of Broadway, there's people all over the world. Um, I mean, literally from Australia, the UK, um, Ireland, everywhere, all across the United States. Um, and it can be high pressure sometimes because um, everybody expects a lot from you. So,
Yeah.
um, however, there's really cool things that happen, like Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was just hanging out one night, and I went up and talked to him. Was like, "Hey, man, I'm a big fan. I won't
Yeah.
call you out or anything. I won't draw attention that you're here, but big fan." The next thing I know, I look back and he's back on the drums, and we got to play some Rage Against the Machine. And to me, I'm
Nice.
like, wow, like, can't even imagine that happening when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So just feel really fortunate to be in the spot where things like that can happen.
Yeah.
Um, you know, on the other hand, there's some people who are really drunk sometimes and they demand a lot out of you, and they'll disrespect you, they'll talk to you in ways uh, you would never expect people to talk to each other.
Yeah.
At this point, I just drown that out as noise. But I think until you get used to that, sometimes it can be jarring. It's once you develop a thicker skin for it. Uh,
It kind of just becomes, part of the job. Like you said, it's
right.
just noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the band a little bit, because you
Sure.
guys describe yourselves as an eclectic, authentic rock and roll band. Why those words?
Well, eclectic to me is, I don't think you can pin us down to just one uh, genre per se. I mean, it says rock and roll, but um, I don't think it sounds just like AC/DC or sounds just like uh, Stone Temple Pilots or Talking Heads. But I think it's a combination of all these influences. And I grew up listening. My dad was a wedding DJ, so I mean, everything from Neil Diamond to Rob Zombie. I mean,
Yeah.
we just, so I'm influenced by a lot of different things, and I feel like that does play into the music. And obviously, some influences are in there more than others. And authentic because, kind of like I said earlier, everything you see and hear on stage is real. I don't think there's anything really wrong with using tracks live or using technology, to each their own. But um, to me, I've always been drawn by bands who are the real energy coming from the stage. Real
Yeah.
drums, uh, real singing, flaws and all. Um, but everything you hear and see is real.
Being that your sound is so eclectic, because I do think it is. Like when I listened to like the first few tracks, that's exactly what I thought is like, you know, these guys, like, you definitely have some kind of distinct sound, but also it's just so diverse. Like all of the songs like have a totally different feel, a totally different vibe. Um, is that is that completely intentional? Like, do you purposely write, just what you feel, or does it just kind of come out like organically that these things are different?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm ever pushing for a direction. It's more of, hey, this is the song that came to me today. Um, for example, like we have a song called "Don't Tell Me What to Play," which is like this um, Johnny Cash inspired rockabilly country rock tune.
Yeah.
When I wrote that, that the song I wanted it to be. That just came to me, and then I got a song, "A Little More Time," which is like a piano ballad. Um, and I also have a song like "Leap of Faith," which is just a rocker, AC/DC driving song. So yeah, it's really just what's the song call for, and what do I feel that day. I'm not um, being like, oh, I gotta write this kind of song.
I kind of love how it all comes together and it all comes through in your live performances because your stage presence has been described as a mix between Scott Weiland and Mick Jagger.
Yeah, that's a
Do
huge
you
compliment. That's crazy.
do you ever like do you ever feel that when you're up there or is that just kind of like a welcome compliment? Like do you try to emulate some kind of like personality when you're on stage or does are you just like
Oh,
wow, I
no, I mean, I'm just influenced again by all these frontmen who like
yeah.
Scott Weiland definitely was one of my biggest influences. And of course, who doesn't love Mick Jagger and James Brown and
Yeah.
um, Jim Morrison, Roger Daltrey from The Who. There's just so many. Bon Scott, AC/DC, um, and David Byrne, Talking Heads, David Bowie. I mean, just there's so many that come to mind. So it's not like I'm like it's not one thing. It's just a little
Yeah.
piece of all these influences that hopefully make my own thing. I just take that as a compliment. That's
Well,
crazy to me.
yeah, I mean, it's really cool to, to be compared to like such greats. So, you're definitely
Yeah.
doing something right, when you can be kind of like put in the same wheelhouse as those people.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say, no, definitely. I mean, those guys have had, major success and yeah, that's crazy. But it's a great quote.
Yeah. All right. So your debut record, Don't You Know It's All a Show? It's been years in the making. What has changed the most, would you say, whether it's like dynamics in the band or, specific songwriting, from when you started the record to when it was finished?
Well, the record is years in the making because when I got to Nashville, like I said, I was playing solo gigs, and then I had put this band together um, that is called Northern Runaways, and we were, a band of, everybody. We all came together, and everybody had equal say, right? But I always found, man, I feel like I care about this every day I wake up and I'm thinking about how to move this forward. I
Hmm.
didn't feel like everybody in the band felt that way. So it always felt like it's kind of like being in a relationship where one person loves the other person more, you know,
Yeah.
than the other. And that's how I felt in that band. So I was like, I want to, I want to, I don't want to be a passenger in my own band. I want to be in the
Mhm.
driver's seat. So that's how the Tennessee Strange came about. And now it gave me the control of like, hey, when I want to make a record, we can go make a record, basically,
Yeah.
or what, and hey, if we want to do this, we can just do this. We don't need to like get in committee about it, meet for months, and then decide like, if that kind of thing. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like inside baseball of how bands work. It's either one person's in charge or everybody's like it's like a committee, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think it just
Mhm.
depends on what works best for each individual person. um some people just like being part of something where things are happening, um and they're a part of it, but they're not having to say, let's say, make the decisions,
Right.
or you know but they're
Yeah.
still a part of it. Where other people, they want to be in the driver's seat and be in charge of the destiny of the band.
It's different for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
each scenario can work differently and be successful in its own right. Um, with 8 people and 8 different personalities, do you feel the process ever like teeter at all? Are you more collaborative when it comes to like songwriting versus, the operations behind the band, or is it always just strictly like you're kind of running the ship?
No, I'd say it's actually really collaborative. I have a vision and I'll put it out there, but people
Mhm.
will work within that vision to do their own thing. Like I'll come with a song um and I'll bring it to the guys and then they'll develop their own parts from that. I'm not like, hey,
Okay.
you're gonna play this exactly like this. No, it's
Okay.
not like that. So it is collaborative. It just starts with kind of like one vision and then works its way through everybody and their own inputs in there. And I do
Nice.
have like the final say on it. And I think it's
Mhm.
important someone does so
Yeah.
that, you know, um, things don't get too caught up in the weeds.
Oh, yeah.
Even the girls, like what they do, and um, like they're making their own moves and singing their own parts, and they come up with that themselves, and uh, it's all great. Yeah,
Yeah. So there's a lot of creative freedom, and kind of like everybody has autonomy over their part for the most part.
basically, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I might have input on it, but m- most of them come up with their own part. I mean, John on drums, using Leap of Faith as an example, like, he really like to me made that song with his input of the drum parts,
Yeah.
especially as it gets in the second half of the song, and he's got this amazing drum fill um, that I didn't tell him to come up with that. I think everybody gets to shine for sure,
Yeah.
um, especially if you see us live. Everybody definitely gets their moment.
Has there ever been a moment where, maybe you guys kind of like hit a roadblock and kind of had to work it out because everybody had a little bit of a different vision where something was headed?
Well, there's always roadblocks. That's part of like that's the only thing about when you're in charge of the project. You're
Yeah.
kind of like the HR department of the band. So yeah, there's always little things, but that's just part of being in a band. It's managing
Yeah.
uh, the whole operation and personalities and problems. The bigger hurdles, I feel like, were like moving from the old band to the new band. That was a big hurdle and a big step.
Yeah.
Um, there's always roadblocks, but I wouldn't say there was anything major that comes to mind where it's like uh, in the past few years or with this band or anything. No.
Speaking of, because you mentioned the song Leap of Faith,
Yeah.
there's a lyric in that song that kind of feels like there's an entire story behind it. And so can you tell me if there is, and what the story is? And the lyric is, when you want to quit, life will say not quite yet.
Yeah. Um,
What made you write that line?
because a lot of times over the course of my life in music, I've been discouraged and I've
Mhm.
wanted to give up. Things just feel like are not going my way. And whenever I reach that point, something always happens that like shows me why I do it and keep continuing on. So I can't point it to one specific example because it just has happened over and over again. Moving to Nashville is one example, of course. Like we talked about, that was one
Yeah.
moment where it was a keep going moment where it could have been a
Yeah.
crossroads in my life to do something else. Um, Last year we did a sold out show in my hometown um, at the Strand Theater. Sold over 400 tickets, um, and that to me was like one of those moments of like, oh, people, it's different people talk, but when people spend their money and buy a ticket to see, that's really like the ultimate. Oh, like you know, I'm on the right path.
I mean,
There's
that's
moments,
gotta be
yeah,
really rewarding,
yeah,
especially going back to your hometown and feeling all that support.
right, exactly, yeah. That it's not just when other people see it too, definitely. It's even moments of uh, a new opportunity comes along, um, or a new song comes along, even where it's like, oh, this is why, you know, I got into music in the first place because the feeling of finishing a song, um, and then you kind of go through a few feelings of it. Like the day you write it is a euphoric feeling, and then the day you record it is a euphoric feeling, and then the day you put it out. So you get to
Yeah.
you get to live that a few times.
And I know you mentioned kind of, everything that you've been um, through all the moments of performing live, and especially the moments on Broadway when, it's like not such a great day, and you've got people who have had a little too much to drink and they're yelling things at you. But
Yeah,
anyone who's worked that circuit knows what a grind it is. Would you say that overall playing Broadway stages sharpens you or burns you out?
it can definitely do both. Um, and I've experienced both, but
Mhm.
when I'm in the mindset that you use Broadway to make you a better performer, you use Broadway to access opportunities,
Mhm.
um, and develop your stage presence, your skills, all of that. Um, if you use it in the right way, I think uh, I think there's nothing wrong with it. But um, that all depends on everybody's different goals too and aspirations, what they have going on. For some people, just working in music as a full-time job, that's that's enough.
Yeah.
That's and there's nothing wrong with that. So um, for me, I do want my own music to be heard, and I do want to be out on the road. Doing Broadway has given me access to do that.
Yeah.
Um, I met people who, hire us to come up and play. I'm able to fund a tour because if they hire us for a private party, oh, now we have enough money to go up there and play our music in other venues that are around there. Yeah, it wouldn't have been possible without the stuff I've done on Broadway. It really wouldn't.
I think that's another aspect of a working musician that a lot of people don't understand is that, it does cost you money to be able to tour. It costs you money to be able to go to these different venues and cities that you want to go to. And, it all falls on you as the musician and the artist.
And to make a record, which
Yeah.
was all, yeah, I mean, the record was completely self-funded from playing
Yeah.
on Broadway. So I wouldn't have made that record without that. I wouldn't have met the people I've met. Yeah. But the burnout thing is very real because when you play music for a living, which seems like the dream, sometimes, I mean, everything does eventually become a job. It can feel like a
Mhm.
job. In those moments where it does feel like a job, it can make the creativity part, it, it can damper that.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge sometimes of the balance of like, well, you know what? I don't really feel like doing anything musical today
Yeah.
because, I worked late last night playing downtown. My social battery is just drained.
Yeah.
Um, so that can be the challenge of doing music as a job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be a common
yeah,
occurrence.
yes,
Well, so I've got one pretty tough question for you before we talk about, what's coming up next for the band. Um, so bear with me here. If this all disappeared tomorrow, what part of what you're doing right now would be the hardest for you to lose?
I do think about that a lot. Uh, yeah, I do. I don't know what all disappearing would mean. I don't think at this point I would ever stop doing what I'm doing. Maybe my opportunities could dry up for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, that could go away tomorrow. I could lose my gigs. The band could break up, but it wouldn't stop me from just doing the next thing in music.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that. I've been through enough like over the past 15 years that you know, things have started and ended to know that people have come and gone, but I've kept trucking on. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's, you know, barring anything health wise or yeah, that would stop me at this point. I would just find a new avenue to do it in.
I mean, you seem so humbled by all of your experiences and so determined to just kind of like keep on going, like you said. I mean,
Yeah.
your passion for it truly shows through in everything that you do. So, if somebody is unfamiliar with PJ Ferguson and the Tennessee Strange, where can they follow you? Where can they see you next? What's coming up for you guys?
Well, you can follow us on Instagram at Tennessee Strange or go to our website, pjtnstrange.com. We're on all the streaming platforms. We just put out a new single called Spaceman. We have a new music video coming out for that. Uh, the music video is really cool because this is my first time directing a music video. I directed and edited it.
Nice.
Um, and so I'm very excited to share that. And we're going to be going on tour um, later this year, August and September. So, and we have a couple dates announced from that, but we're going to be announcing um, more dates. So they're on our website.
So we'll stay on top of everything and look forward to that. And congratulations on the success that you guys have had thus far. Sounds like something really cool that you should be super proud of.
Yeah, and we're going to also be releasing new music throughout the summer that we already have recorded, and yeah, that's what's going on.
Awesome. Well, we really look forward to what's coming next for you guys. Thanks so much for spending the time with me today to tell me all about, the band and your journey through all of this, and excited to see what's next.
Absolutely, this is a very therapeutic interview. It's a good way to start
Nice.
the day.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love to hear that. Thank you.
yes, yes. Thank you.